Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. The 13th lecture of Surah Al Baqarah is presented to you, which pertains to verses 16 to 20. These blessed verses are related to the identification and characteristics of the hypocrites. Previously, we have completed the translation and interpretation of verse 15 of Surah Al Baqarah. In this lecture, we will cover the translation and interpretation of verses 16 to 20 of Surah Al Baqarah. Now, let's begin with verse 16. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. أولئك الذين اشتروا الضلالة بالهدى فما ربحت تجارتهم وما كانوا مهتدين. Translation: These are the people who have purchased error in exchange for guidance, but this trade is not profitable for them, and they are not on the right path at all. In this verse, the mention of purchasing error in exchange for guidance refers to the fact that these hypocrites had the opportunity to accept the truth, because they had come to know about it, but they did not do so, and rejected the truth for worldly gain. Allah Almighty has referred to their worldly gain as a trade, and has described the preference for the world as a losing bargain. The next verse is number 17. مثلهم كمثل الذي استوقد نارا فلما أضاءت ما حوله ذهب الله بنورهم وتركهم في ظلمات لا يبصرون. Translation: So they were like a fire, and when it lit up what was around it, Allah went away with His light and left them in the darkness of Allah. Their example is like a person who lit a fire and it illuminated everything around. Then Allah took away their light and insight, leaving them in such a state that they cannot see anything, in the darkness. In this verse, the condition of the hypocrites is depicted through an example. Imagine the environment of polytheism and disbelief. In this environment, when a servant of Allah, namely the Prophet, peace be upon him, spread light and distinguished truth from falsehood, right from wrong, and the straight path from misguidance, making everything clear and prominent, and illuminated guidance everywhere. Those who were people of insight had all the realities become clear to them, but these hypocrites, who were blinded by self-indulgence, could not see anything in this light. Allah Almighty took away their light and insight, so that there should be no misunderstanding. From the words, that their wandering in darkness is not their own responsibility. The truth is that Allah takes away the light of insight only from those who are not seekers of truth, who prefer misguidance over guidance for themselves, and who do not wish to see the bright face of truth. When they turned away from the light of truth and chose to wander and remain in the darkness of ignorance, Allah turned them in that direction. The next verse is number 18. صُمٌّ بُكْمٌ عُمْيٌ فَهُمْ لَا يَرْجِعُونَ. Translation: They are deaf, dumb, and blind, and they will not return. Understand that faith is related to spirituality, and spirituality is connected to the heart and mind. Therefore, in this verse, Allah has actually clarified their spiritual state, and their hearts have been deprived of the ability to hear, understand, and accept the truth, and they will not return. Hence, they have become deaf to hearing the truth, dumb to speaking the truth, and blind to seeing the clear signs of the truth. The next verse number is 19. أو كصيب من السماء فيه ظلمات ورعد وبرق يجعلون أصابعهم في آذانهم من الصواعق حذر الموت والله محيط بالكافرين. Translation: A storm from the sky with darkness, thunder, and lightning. They put their fingers in their ears against the thunderclaps, fearing death. But Allah encompasses the disbelievers. Or consider their example as if heavy rain is falling from the sky, accompanied by dark clouds, thunder, and lightning. They hear the thunderclaps, and, out of fear for their lives, they put their fingers in their ears. And Allah has surrounded these deniers of truth from all sides. The next verse number is 20.
يكاد البرق يخطف أبصارهم كلما أضاء لهم مشوا فيه وإذا أظلم عليهم قاموا ولو شاء الله لذهب بسمعهم وأبصارهم إن الله على كل شيء قدير.
Translation: Their condition due to the brightness is such that it seems as if the lightning is about to snatch away their sight. When they perceive a little light, they walk in it, and when darkness falls, they stand still. If Allah willed, He could have completely taken away their hearing and sight. Indeed, He is capable of everything. Here, we reflect on the truth regarding verses 19 and 20. You know that this is a Madani surah. Imagine the setting of Medina during the blessed era of the Prophet, peace be upon him. There are three types of people here. Firstly, the believers. Secondly, the disbelievers. And thirdly, the hypocrites. In any setting, aligning oneself with one side is quite easy. For example, with the Muslim community or with the disbelievers. However, the third group is the hypocrites, and this group faces severe difficulties in such an environment. Therefore, living a life of hypocrisy in an Islamic setting is a challenging task. In these verses, the example of a heavy rain is given, which refers to the revelation of Islamic commandments, and this is the rain of Islam, whose descent is a form of mercy, cleansing the idolatrous and disbelieving environment, just as rain washes and refreshes every crop, field, and tree. Similarly, the environment during the Prophet Muhammad's, peace be upon him, era of prophethood is being cleansed. The thunder and lightning refer to the difficulties and tribulations arising due to the ongoing struggle between the two types of people, that is, the disbelievers and Muslims. These two groups are opposed to each other, and there is no doubt about their positions. If one group is on one side, the other is on the opposite side. Here, the difficulty arises with the hypocrites, as these people use the language and environment of the Muslims, while their actions resemble or bear a resemblance to disbelief. In this context, how do they proceed? Here, imagine a person who, unwillingly, has been caught in a heavy rain and wants to avoid the rain at all costs. The next depiction that has been made is that in this rain there is also dark clouds, thunder, and lightning. Imagine a person who does not want to go out in the rain, but suddenly gets caught in it. For such a person, this environment becomes even more terrifying and dangerous. And now, when such a trapped person sees no way to escape the rain and its terrifying scene, what is the last resort left? To avoid the horror of the scene, at the very least, he plugs his ears with his fingers, so that the effects of the scene's horror do not penetrate his senses. This is the environment of Medina, the advent of Islam. The environment is being cleansed, polytheism and disbelief are dissipating. To cleanse the environment of polytheism and disbelief, besides human powers, other means being used include economic hardships, which lead to spending in the way of Allah. There is a real threat of external attacks, so defense is present, resistance and counterattacks, and then the command for combat. In these circumstances, the sacrifice of life is intended, and then, to establish the writ of the state, similar other commands are being revealed. These are the circumstances where the hypocrites are in a predicament. Participating in the minor activities of prayer and the Islamic movement is easy, but how to avoid the major commands? Therefore, in relation to these difficulties, the words of the verse concerning the hypocrites
فيه ظلمات ورعد وبرق
are given as an example of darkness, clouds, thunder, and lightning, which symbolize facing trials and tribulations. However, in this context, they can neither move forward nor escape. This depiction is presented in verse number 20. The words of the verse:
كلما أضاء لهم مشوا فيه وَإِذَا أَظْلَمَ عَلَيْهِمْ قَامُوا.
Describe that when they perceive a bit of light, these hypocrites move a little, meaning they manage to do easy tasks. But when darkness falls, these hypocrites stand still, meaning they stop when they have to go through difficulties and tribulations. Where can they go? Moreover, Allah has surrounded them. The words of the verse,
وَاللَّهُ مُحِيطٌ بِالْكَافِرِينَ,
and Allah encompasses the disbelievers, indicate that Allah has surrounded them. This verse discusses two types of hypocrites. The first example is of those hypocrites who were absolute deniers of Islam in their hearts and became Muslims for some ulterior motive or issue. And the second example is of those who were afflicted with doubt, hesitation, and weak faith. They acknowledged some truth, but were not committed to such truthfulness that they would endure hardships and sufferings for it. Allah took away the light of insight from the first type of hypocrites because they were absolute deniers of the truth and became Muslims only for their personal gain. Similarly, Allah could have made the second type of hypocrites blind and deaf to the truth as well, but it is not Allah's principle to prevent those who wish to see and hear to some extent from seeing and hearing at all. To the extent that they were prepared to see and hear the truth, Allah allowed them to retain that ability, and they were given the right to fully observe the truth, so that they may truly return to the essence of the faith. Today's lecture covered verses 16 to 20. In relation to these verses, the condition of people in every era should be assessed and evaluated against this measure of hypocrisy, and it can indeed be assessed and evaluated. These verses convey the message that faith is not merely professed by the tongue, but is accepted by the heart. If a person claims to have faith, but their actions and intentions do not align with it, they will continue to wander in darkness. In this regard, Allah has given us clear signs so that we may avoid these mistakes and choose the path of true faith. By the grace of Allah, today's lecture, which was about the reality of faith and the dangers of hypocrisy, has been completed. In the lecture, by the grace of Allah, we will take the translation and interpretation of verse 21 from Surah Al Baqarah. Take good care of yourselves. Please allow me to take my leave. May Allah be your protector.